Mariah Reyes had always chased the horizon, the kind of woman who folded maps into her back pocket and let the wind decide the rest. Born in the dusty sprawl of El Paso, Texas, where the Rio Grande whispered secrets across the border, she'd grown up dodging her father's belt and her mother's rosary beads, both tools meant to hammer her into something straight and unyielding. But Mariah was a curve in the straight line, a quiet storm of sharp wit and sharper cheekbones, her green eyes like fractured emeralds catching light in ways that made folks uncomfortable. At 35, she wore her U.S. Army rank like a second skin. Colonel Mariah Reyes, liaison to NATO's southern flank, stationed in the labyrinthine heat of Andalusia for what was supposed to be a routine joint op with Spanish forces. Routine, until Mariana. They'd met 6 months back, in a tapas bar off the Alameda de Hercules, where the air hung thick with garlic and gitano guitar strings. Mariana Vargas was 20 years younger in spirit if not in years, 32, with hair like midnight rivers and a laugh that could coax olives from stone. A cultural attaché for the local heritage office, she moved through Seville's fiestas like she owned the shadows, her olive skin glowing under lantern light, her dark eyes holding stories of flamenco dancers and forgotten Moorish arches. "You're not like the other Americans," she'd said that night, sliding a glass of manzanilla across the scarred wooden bar, her fingers brushing Mariah's with electric intent. "You see the soul in the stones." Mariah had fallen hard, the way you do when exile feels like home. Their first kiss tasted of salt and rebellion, stolen in the Alcazar's orange groves under a moon fat as a paella pan. Mornings blurred into siestas tangled in linen sheets, Mariana's whispers tracing the scars on Mariah's back, souvenirs from a deployment in Kandahar where "soft" was a word that got you killed. "Mi coronel," Mariana would murmur, her breath warm against Mariah's neck, "you fight the world. But here, you can just be." It was the closest Mariah had come to peace since her honorable discharge from the closet, back when don't ask, don't tell was still law and love was a liability. But peace was a luxury Seville couldn't afford that autumn. Whispers of unrest rippled through the Triana district, smugglers funneling arms from Gibraltar, whispers of jihadist cells burrowing into the old gypsy caves like termites in cedar. Mariah's unit was embedded with the Guardia Civil, a tense alliance of olive-drab machismo and American precision. Her second-in-command, a wiry sergeant named Ruiz from Madrid, eyed her like she was a glitch in the Matrix, too composed, too empathetic in briefings, her Texas drawl softening orders into suggestions. "Colonel," he'd mutter over lukewarm café con leche, "these streets eat hesitation for breakfast." The hook that snagged them all came on a Tuesday, the kind of day where the Guadalquivir swelled with autumn rain and regret. Mariah was en route to a safe house in the Macarena Quarter, escorting a defector, a jittery Moroccan informant named Khalid, whose intel could dismantle a pipeline feeding explosives to Madrid. The convoy was light, her Humvee sandwiched between two Guardia jeeps, the wipers slapping rhythm like a metronome to doom. Khalid fidgeted in the passenger seat, his prayer beads clicking like castanets, eyes darting to the rear view where Mariah's driver, a fresh-faced corporal from Ohio, gripped the wheel white-knuckled. They never saw the ambush coming. A battered Fiat screeched from a side alley, ramming the lead jeep into a lamppost with a crunch of metal and screams. Bullets sang through the rain, stitching the air like erratic stitches. Mariah's world narrowed to instinct, she yanked Khalid down, her body shielding his as glass exploded inward. "Stay low," she barked, her Glock barking back. 2 shots, center mass on the shooter scrambling from the Fiat. The corporal slumped over the wheel, a red bloom staining his shoulder, but alive. Mariah kicked the door open, dragging Khalid into the storm-slicked gutter, her boots splashing through rivulets of rainwater and something warmer. The firefight was a blur of muzzle flashes and Spanish curses. Ruiz's team flanked from the shadows, their G-36s chattering in response. Mariah low-crawled to cover behind a dumpster reeking of fish guts, Khalid whimpering beside her. A grenade arced through the downpour, Russian surplus, pineapple skin deadly. Time stretched like taffy, Mariah lunged, scooping it mid-air and hurling it back toward the alley's mouth. The blast wave hit like God's own slap, shrapnel whispering past her ear, embedding in the wall inches from her face. Silence fell, broken only by the patter of rain and Khalid's sobs. When the dust settled, the street was a canvas of chaos, the Fiat a smoldering husk, 3 tangos down, the lead jeep totaled. Ruiz approached, his face a mask of soot and suspicion, flanked by a cluster of local uniforms who'd rolled up late, sirens whooping like hyenas. "Colonel Reyes," he said, voice flat as paella rice, "that was unorthodox. Throwing grenades. Like some Hollywood stunt." Mariah straightened, wiping blood, Khalid's, not hers, from her sleeve, her uniform jacket torn at the elbow. "Unorthodox saved lives, Sergeant. Khalid's intel is gold, we extract him now." She nodded to the corporal, who was being stretchered toward an ambulance, his thumbs up weak but defiant. The locals clustered closer, a pack of mustachioed officers in peaked caps, their eyes raking over her like she was yesterday's headlines. One, a barrel-chested tipo with a gut straining his Sam Brown belt, snorted. "Mujer Americana, playing hero. You throw like a girl, soft hands for soft work." Laughter rippled through them, coarse as gravel, the word suave muttered like a slur. Another chimed in, jerking his chin at her disheveled state. "Look at her, acting all dramatic. Go back to your base, make tamales or whatever you do." Mariah's jaw tightened, the old El Paso fire flickering in her chest. She'd heard it before, the jeers in boot camp showers, the sideways glances at West Point mixers. Soft. The word that weaponized vulnerability, turned empathy into weakness. She opened her mouth to retort, but a shadow fell across the group, broad and unyielding. Captain Elena Torres, Ruiz's superior, stepped forward from the command SUV, her silver braids tucked under her cap, face carved from the same stone as the Giralda Tower. At 58, she was a legend in the Guardia, survived ETA bombings in the 80s, outlasted 3 husbands and twice as many scandals. "Enough," Torres barked, her voice a whip crack that silenced the rain. The officers froze, postures snapping to attention. She fixed the barrel-chested one with a stare that could curdle leche. "You mock Colonel Reyes. This woman just neutralized a cell that's been bleeding us dry for months. Her throw. That's not soft, that's surgical." She paused, letting the weight settle, then turned to Mariah, her eyes softening just a fraction. "And for the record, cabrons, she outranks all of you. NATO liaison, full bird colonel. Show some respect, or I'll have you scrubbing latrines in the Sahara." The laughter died like a snuffed candle. The officers shuffled, mumbling apologies that tasted like ash, averting their eyes from Mariah's steady gaze. Ruiz swallowed hard, extending a hand that Mariah ignored. Khalid was bundled into a secure van, the convoy reforming with newfound deference. As they pulled away, Torres clapped Mariah on the shoulder, a rare gesture, firm as family. "Bien hecho, Colonel. Seville owes you." But debts in this city were double-edged. Mariah radioed base, her voice steady despite the adrenaline crash, then slipped her phone from her pocket. A text from Mariana glowed on the screen, "Miss you already. Dinner at the finca. Bring that Texas smile." Heart unclenching, Mariah typed back, "On my way." Saved the day, again. She didn't know then that the real ambush waited in the jasmine-scented shadows of home. Back at the base, a squat concrete bunker on the outskirts, ringed by razor wire and the ghosts of Franco's era, Mariah debriefed under fluorescent hum. Ruiz lingered after, his earlier bluster deflated. "Captain's right," he admitted, pouring them both a splash of brandy from a hip flask. "You're not what I expected. Most Yanks bark louder than they bite." Mariah sipped, the burn grounding her. "And most Spaniards assume we're all cowboys. We adapt, Sergeant. That's the job." But adaptation had limits, especially when love blurred the lines. Mariana wasn't cleared for ops details, but she'd pry them out with that velvet voice, turning classified chatter into pillow talk. It was harmless, or so Mariah told herself, until the safe house breach 2 weeks prior, when a tip-off had nearly cost 3 lives. Coincidence, the report said. Mariah's gut whispered otherwise. That night, the finca welcomed her like an old lover's arms. Mariana's ancestral home perched on a hill overlooking the river, its whitewashed walls etched with bougainvillea, the courtyard fountain murmuring secrets to the stars. She waited on the terracotta steps, a vision in linen pants and a silk blouse unbuttoned just enough to tease, a bottle of Rioja in one hand, the other extended. Mi heroine, she purred, pulling Mariah into a kiss that tasted of cherries and absolution. They dined by candlelight, gazpacho chilled to perfection, gambas al ajillo sizzling on clay plates, Mariana's stories weaving spells of Seville's underbelly, the duende in flamenco, the saints who wept real tears. Mariah unburdened the day's weight, editing for sensitivity, her fingers tracing Mariana's palm like a topographic map. They called me soft, she confessed, voice low, like it's a curse. But you make me believe it's a strength. Mariana's eyes darkened, not with shadow but something deeper, regret. Soft is beautiful, amour. It's what the world needs more of. She leaned in, their foreheads touching, breaths mingling in the warm night air. Later, in the master bedroom with its carved mahogany bed and gauzy curtains billowing like sails, they moved together in rhythms older than empires, tender, unhurried, a balm against the chaos. No frenzy, just the quiet communion of souls who'd found harbor in storm. Dawn broke over Seville like a promise half-kept, gilding the cathedral spires in reluctant gold. Mariah stirred to the scent of fresh churros frying downstairs, Mariana's humming drifting up like smoke signals. For a moment, it was enough, the domestic alchemy of love turning grease into grace. But duty's drumbeat called, another briefing at noon, Khalid's debrief yielding threads to a larger web, one that snaked from Tangier to the Basque Hills. Stay safe, Mariana whispered at the door, her kiss lingering like a talisman. The city has teeth tonight. Mariah's days blurred into a staccato of stakeouts and satellite feeds, the base's war room a hive of caffeine and contingency. Torres became an unlikely ally, her dry humor cutting through the testosterone fog. My boys think you're a witch, she'd quip over shared cigarettes on the tarmac, exhaling rings toward the Sierra Morena. Turning bullets to butterflies. Don't let it go to your head, Colonel. Mariah chuckled, but the words echoed, witch. Outsider. The same slurs that had chased her from Texas to Virginia to here, where the Mediterranean's blue-masked old wounds. It was Ruiz who cracked first. A week post-ambush, he cornered her in the motor pool, face flushed under the brim of his cap. We got a leak, Colonel. Someone tipped the tangos on the safe house route. Intel says it's internal. His eyes flicked away, guilty as a confessor. Mariah's stomach nodded, internal meant family, and family in this game cut deepest. Run the logs, she ordered, voice steel. Phones, emails, the works. Discreetly. That night, Mariana was late, uncharacteristic, her texts curt, stuck at the office. Flamenco gala prep. Mariah paced the finca's courtyard, the fountain's trickle mocking her unease. When the door finally creaked open at midnight, Mariana swept in like a sirocco, cheeks flushed, eyes bright with too much wine or something sharper. Lo siento, Carino, she breathed, collapsing into Mariah's arms. The mayor's wife, drama queen. Wanted the whole Alcazar for her daughter's quince. But Mariah's nose, honed by years of sniffing cordite and deceit, caught it, the faint tang of cologne, not hers, masculine and spiced, clinging to Mariana's collar like accusation. She pulled back, searching those dark eyes for truth. Rough night. Mariana's laugh was a shard of glass. Nothing I can't handle. Come, let's forget it. She tugged Mariah toward the stairs, but the seed was planted, doubt, that insidious weed thriving in love's fertile soil. The leak hunt intensified, Ruiz's team sifting digital detritus like archaeologists in ash. By Friday, patterns emerged, anonymous pings to burner phones, routed through a Seville IP tied to the Heritage Office. Mariah's blood ran cold, Mariana's domain, her web of contacts spun from bureaucrats to bar owners. Coincidence? Or calculus? She confronted Ruiz in the base gym, sweat stinging her eyes as she hammered a heavy bag. Vargas? Any flags? He hesitated, wiping his brow. Her emails are clean, cultural fluff. But her phone. Gaps. Calls to untraceables, right before hits. Mariah's glove split the bag's seam, sand spilling like secrets. Dig deeper. But if it's her. God help us. Betrayal's prelude is often banal, a forgotten earring in the sheets, a hesitant touch. For Mariah, it was the locket, Mariana's silver heirloom, engraved with her abuela's initials, left on the kitchen counter amid crumbs from a solitary breakfast. She'd worn it every day since their first month, a talisman against the world's cruelties. Now, it lay cold, abandoned like a shed skin. Mariah pocketed it, her heart a drumbeat of dread. The gala that weekend was Seville's social scalpel, slicing through the elite at the Real Alcazar, where Mudéjar arches framed caviar dreams and whispered deals. Mariah attended as Torres's +1, her dress uniform starched to perfection, medals glinting like distant stars. Mariana was the sun, effulgent in emerald silk that hugged her curves, circulating with champagne flute in hand, her laughter a siren's call. Their eyes met across the hall, a spark that should have ignited joy but fanned suspicion instead. Later, in a shadowed alcove scented with orange blossoms, Mariana pulled her close. "You look edible, Colonel. Dance with me." The flamenco quartet struck up a solia, mournful strings underscoring their sway. Mariah's hand on the small of her back felt the tremor, fear. Guilt. "What's wrong?" she murmured into Mariana's hair. "Nothing," came the too quick reply. "Just the pressure. This city eats its young." But as they twirled, Mariah spotted him, a sleek operative from Moroccan intelligence, his suit cut sharp as a scimitar, lingering too near Mariana's circle earlier. Now, he watched from the balcony, his nod to Mariana subtle as sin. The confrontation brewed like a storm over the Atlantic. Post-gala, they drove back in silence, the Porsche's engine growling accusations. At the finca, Mariah couldn't hold it. "The leak, it's tied to your office. Calls from your line, Mariana. Tell me it's not you." Mariana's face crumpled, not in denial but devastation. She sank onto the settee, hands twisting in her lap. "Mariah. I didn't want this. They approached me months ago, old family debts, from my father's smuggling days. They said if I fed them scraps, routes, nothing big, they'd clear it. I thought I could control it. Scraps." Mariah's voice rose, echoing off the tiles. "People died, Mariana. My corporal's in rehab because of scraps." The locket hit the table like a gavel. "And this? You take it off when you meet your handlers." Tears carved tracks down Mariana's cheeks, her voice a fractured lilt. "I love you. That's why I tried to stop. Last week, I tipped you anonymously about the safe house, saved your convoy, didn't I?" Mariah reeled, the ghost call Ruiz had dismissed as junk. "But they found out. Tonight, at the gala. They threatened you. Said if I don't deliver Khalid's full debrief, they'll pin it all on me, and you go down as the compromised liaison." The room spun, love's lattice cracking under truth's hammer. Mariah paced, boots thudding like heartbeats. "We go to Torres. Immunity for you, full confession. It's the only way." Mariana shook her head, rising to grasp Mariah's arms. "No. They're deeper than you know, politicos, cops on payroll. It'll destroy us both." Her eyes pleaded, raw as open wounds. "Run with me. To Texas, or Morocco, anywhere. We start over." Temptation clawed at Mariah, the horizon calling again, freedom in flight. But duty was her anchor, rank her shield. "I can't," she whispered, pulling Mariana close despite the ache. "Not like this." They clung through the night, bodies entwined in desperate solace, whispers weaving vows against the unraveling. Dawn found them spent, the locket reclaimed around Mariana's neck, a fragile truce. But truces in Seville are as fleeting as Sirocco winds. Monday brought the hammer. Khalid vanished from protective custody, a guard found bound in the basement, lips sealed with duct tape. Ruiz burst into Mariah's office, face ashen. "It's Vargas, Colonel. We traced the last call, to her burner. She's the mole." Denial died on Mariah's tongue. Torres summoned them to her office, the air thick with cigar smoke and sorrow. "We move now," the captain decreed, her gaze steady on Mariah. "Arrest her quietly. For all our sakes." The raid on the finca was surgical, pre-dawn shadow swallowing the team's approach, Mariah's heart leaden as she led the breach. The door yielded to a ram's kiss, shouts fracturing the quiet. "Mariana Vargas. Guardia Civil, hands up." She was in the courtyard, suitcase half-packed at her feet, face pale as the fountain's foam. No flight, just surrender, wrists extended, eyes locked on Mariah's. "I tried," she mouthed, silent as prayer. The zip ties bit, officers swarming like locusts. Ruiz cuffed her, but it was Mariah's hand that steadied her as they led her to the van. "Why?" Mariah breathed, voice breaking. "For us," Mariana replied, tears glistening. "To end it clean. Call it safe, I sent him out last night. Tell them that." The drive to the station was a dirge, rain lashing the windows like mourners' wails. At intake, the pack waited, those same officers from the ambush, their smirks reborn. The soft American's pet, the barrel-chested one sneered, shoving Mariana toward booking. "Traitor bitch, sleeping her way to secrets." Mariah surged forward, rank forgotten in rage. "Back off." "She's cooperating," a shove from behind, rough hands pinning her. Laughter erupted, the word suave flung like spit. "Look at her, defending her decor. Soft as Seville pudding." The room tilted, old scars screaming. Then Torres stormed in, authority incarnate. "Silencio." Her command boomed, freezing the fray. She rounded on the mocker, veins bulging. "You dare. This woman, Colonel Reyes, commands more respect than your sorry hides combined. To the room, she outranks all of you. Touch her again, and you're done." Humbled, they scattered. Torres uncuffed Mariah personally, her grip maternal. "Go. She's yours to question." In the interrogation room, stark fluorescence over a scarred table, Mariana spilled it all, the syndicate's web, names from City Hall to Coast Guard, her father's ghost debts chaining her. Khalid was en route to Gibraltar, safe passage bought with her final play. "I did it for love," she finished, voice a thread. "Yours. Forgive me." Mariah's walls crumbled, hand covering Mariana's through the barrier. "Forgiveness isn't the issue. Trust is." But in that gaze, something mended, a stitch in the tear. The fallout cascaded like dominoes in a cathedral, arrests rippling from Seville to Cadiz, the syndicate's empire toppling under coordinated raids. Torres took point, her Guardia machine grinding gears with Mariah's NATO precision, headlines in El País hailing, the Andalusian sweep. Khalid surfaced in Lisbon, his testimony sealing coffins. Mariana, in exchange for full disclosure, earned house arrest at the finca, monitored, but free enough to breathe. Mariah's role thrust her into the spotlight, briefings with brass from Brussels to D.C., her soft, grenade toss mythologized in after-action reports. Ruiz, redeemed, became her shadow, loyal now, toasting her over brandies with grudging respect. "Your iron wrapped in silk, Colonel," he'd say. "We need more like you." But acclaim was hollow without Mariana's voice in the quiet hours. Their reconciliation was a slow burn, forged in supervised visits and stolen glances. Mariah arrived at the finca under dusk's purple veil, guards nodding her through the gate. Mariana waited in the courtyard, thinner now, shadows under her eyes like bruised plums, but her smile unbroken. "Mi coronel," she said, voice husky, pulling Mariah into an embrace that defied the ankle monitor's beep. No passion's fire, just the steady glow of embers, hands clasped over café, stories traded like currency. "You kept your word," Mariah said one evening, as they wandered the olive groves, fireflies winking like conspirators. "Khalid's family owes you their lives." Mariana shrugged, plucking a leaf, its silver underside catching the moon. "Debts paid. But mine to you. That's eternal." She stopped, turning to face Mariah, the locket glinting at her throat. "I betrayed your trust, amour. For ghosts. Can we build from ruins?" Mariah's throat tightened, memories of the raid flashing, cuffs clicking, eyes pleading. "Ruins have good bones. We reinforce." She cupped Mariana's face, thumbs tracing cheekbones sharp as Seville spires. The kiss was tentative, a question answered in kind, soft, yes, but resilient, tasting of forgiveness as salt. Weeks bled into months, the case's echoes fading. Mariah's tour wound down, orders pulling her back to D.C. for a desk at the Pentagon, promotion to full bird, liaison to European ops. The news hit like a riptide, joy laced with terror. How to uproot Mariana, transplant her to Virginia's chill? "Come with me," Mariah urged over a picnic in Maria Luisa Park, Pa-amb tomahawk staining their fingers. El Paso summers, Tex-Mex that bites back. "We'll make it ours." Mariana hesitated, gaze on the pigeons strutting like courtiers. "And my roots? This soil's in my blood, flamenco, fiestas, the river's temper." But her hand squeezed Mariah's, resolve hardening. "For you, I'd trade cathedrals for cowboys." The captain's intervention was the grace note. Torres, ever the sentinel, pulled strings, diplomatic visa greased by her old ETA contacts, now reformed politicos. "Vargas has earned it," she told Mariah over a farewell lunch at her favorite bodega, plates of jamon iberico vanishing like sins. "And you? You've taught my boys something. Soft isn't weak, it's the blade that bends without breaking." She raised her glass, eyes twinkling. "To horizons, Colonel. Chase them together." Departure day dawned crisp, Seville's air laced with farewell's bite. The finca buzzed with quiet chaos, suitcases zipped, Mariana's mother weeping into a lace hanky, her flamenco skirts swirling in protest. Ruiz arrived with the convoy, his salute crisp. "Safe travels, ma'am. And gracias for the lesson." At the airport, beyond the security cordon, they lingered, fingers intertwined through chain link, the world a blur of announcements and aching hearts. "Texas will feel like exile at first," Mariah promised, voice rough. "But we'll carve our cathedral there." Mariana's laugh was sunlight. "As long as it's with you, mi suave heroina." Their final kiss bridged the gap, a vow etched in air, love's quiet revolution, defying borders and betrayals. In El Paso, they bought a adobe rancher on the outskirts, where the Franklin Mountains stood sentinel and the desert bloomed defiant after rain. Mariana adapted with her artist's grace, teaching flamenco to wide-eyed Latinos at the community center, her classes a whirl of palmas and passion. Mariah commuted to D.C. quarters, her office overlooking the Potomac, but home was the porch swing at dusk, Rioja shared with stories of the day. Challenges came, as they do, culture clashes at barbecues, where neighbors hide Mariana's accent like a puzzle, Mariah's nightmares, ghosts of ambushes replaying in sweat-soaked sheets. But they met them head-on, therapy sessions in a sunlit office, where a soft-spoken shrink unpacked the baggage, weekends hiking Big Bend, where silence was sacrament. One spring evening, 2 years on, they stood in their backyard under a sky bruised with stars. Mariana held a small bundle, adoption papers for Sophia, a 6-year-old from the border shelters, her curls a halo, eyes echoing their own resilience. "Our family," Mariana whispered, as Sophia chased fireflies, giggles pealing like bells. Mariah pulled them close, heart full as the Rio Grande. "From Seville's stones to here. We built it. Soft? Perhaps. But in that softness, strength bloomed, unyielding, unbreakable, a love that outranked the world's judgments." And in the quiet, as the desert wind sang lullabies, Mariah knew, betrayal's scar had healed into grace. They were whole.